on here, and we're just going to keep going live every Tuesday and kind of bring you guys into sort of how we're training our team and just some of the things we're reviewing, keeping everybody on the same page. So we generally, as a team, don't do a whole lot of meetings. We don't do an all hands meeting or anything like that. So this is kind of what we do to work to talk through new process to like share some of the knowledge between the team members. Last 2 weeks we had Janata jump in here and give us some deep dives on Flutter. We're gonna have Lucian come in the next couple weeks and talk about some of the things he's working on. Just kind of just share from different points of view in our team. And generally, we're trying to focus obviously on how we're using ShapeUp, how we're using AI, how we're building really cool products and doing them really quickly with really a team of one person managing a project by themselves. And so we'll just kind of bring you guys into the loop of how we're doing that. And of course, you guys can ask questions or jump on here, comments. So this is really for our team, but we thought we'd stream it just to hopefully help other people out. And always, if you're interested in working with us, you can check out the link. There's always a link to apply and potentially work with the team. So today I wanted to do like a deep dive into just throw you guys right into the messy middle of one of our products. So we have a product here called Tribe Social, um, something that we built. I'm going to show you this website. This is kind of our marketing site here. And so it's a way to have like a mobile app, host your community. It's something we built internally and bootstrapped in 2020, and we've just been chipping away at it. And so what we have right now is we've kind of overhauling a lot of different things. And so typically when we do a single project, if you guys have been following along, you know how we do it. We typically build out a little framing doc like this where we talk about the problem, we talk about the outcome, we talk about the things that we're not doing, and then we really dive into the appetite. And then from there, we'll kind of map out currently how the flow is working and then what we think the new flow should look like. And we'll use diagrams like this to talk about the database. So this is something that we were working with Ryan Singer as a team on. And there's just so many different things we wanted to change all at once. There's some big architectural changes. Like right now, we currently have a JavaScript backend CMS that's driving a lot of the content, and then through our years of experimentation, we dove into Flutterflow, which had us pull into Firebase. So there's a bunch of like MySQL database stuff going on where it syncs to Firebase, and it's just a nightmare to kind of work on and build new features in that. So one of our big initiatives was to really get rid of Firebase and then ultimately get rid of Flutter. And so, what we were going to do is, over the course of the next few months, start to work those Firebase out of the system. And so, to do that, there's a number of different projects. So we have this little sketch here, which we use this as well for our customers when we have a big project and we're trying to think through timelines because there's just that many weeks we can do inside of a month. And so we don't really plan like on this one day we're going to start this particular project and we have 6 days to do it, and then this happens. I like to think of it in the months as far as like in September, we're going to get this done. We try to like put things generally on a calendar, but not like we're not micromanaging like specific days have to be done. We're just looking at like, hey, in the month of September, we kind of need to get this done, and then October and November. And this has become like the right level of abstraction for us as the right level of like summarization, I guess, because quickly anyone can you guys can look at this, and in September we rebuilt our go live feature. So Janata, who you heard from last week, came in and like we actually integrated the 100 ms SDK into the app, which before we're using a lot of like embedding hacks that was just done really badly in the past. Now we're using the SDK. And so we also had like a quota project that allowed certain users to upload certain amounts of content or types of content. And then in October, we've been working through basically taking our entire community feed. So if you looked at the app, and I'm gonna just kind of bring you guys into it here. Let's just jump to like a page like Pioneers here. We have a feed that's scrolling here, and what we have is like a way for people to just post and make a post and just post something in there. So all of this is going straight to Firebase. It does not show up anywhere inside of our backend. So we have like a little dashboard here with content and things all listed out, and none of that content appears anywhere in that database. So it works, it's functional, but it's not a great solution long term because now we're wanting to like, okay, how do we list all those posts somewhere in here and like let people moderate things? It's just kind of a mess. So that was one of the things that Lucian's been working on is basically moving all of our community posts and stuff to be using the new or the kind of core JavaScript API here and getting out of Firebase and basically moving totally out of Firebase for this feature. It's one of the most complicated parts of the app. And so it's we said 2 weeks. It's probably going to be more like three, maybe four. Who knows? We're doing some UI updates we pushed last week to made a couple changes to the mobile version of the app. Um, and then we have some multi-user account management stuff coming in November. And then we're working on these like group integrations. Okay, I think we lost everybody. Is everybody back? Was it did I leave or freeze? Yes. We good. Yeah, thank you, Macy. Great. I can see you guys. I just can't hear you. Okay, I think that's probably my internet. I'll just say we basically have like this very messy Figma board, FigJam board, and so as we're coming up with like a little piece of this, we're kind of throwing out a quick little framing, like really quick like shaping, crossing stuff out. You can kind of see our work as you work our way down. Um, and a lot of the time we had ideas for things that like, hey, we should definitely have a way for people to have a new homepage, for example, where you can like add and remove your content. And so we had an app that we're looking at. I'll bring it over here. That's like this, where we maybe wanted to have like a different kind of a layout than just a feed. And so we mocked that up in a design over here, and we started to think through like what would this layout look like. And because of that we said, hey, let's make a new homepage builder where customers can like drag and drop rows in here and like put different content together and kind of make it their own, almost like a little web page builder. So we went down this whole avenue of like what would this homepage builder look like and like where would we manage it. We came up with like a whole version 1, crossed it out, came up with a version 2, which is a lot cleaner look, and you can kind of just see like there's a lot less squares over here than maybe over here. So generally, like this ended up being a little bit more elegant, and we like this idea of being able to edit it in the front end app itself, and then make some changes. But then as we got into it, we realized we're actually going to create this new thing called group integrations, where we can just do it a totally custom tab. And all of our groups are built like this, where you have like a tab for community, tab for courses, tab for replays. And then we kept adding tabs. If you go in here to a group and you click into a group like this, you could just turn these different tabs on and off. And so uh, with that, like, um, we started to think like, well, what if we made a way to make custom tabs? And we came up with this thing called group integrations. And we said, hey, like again, we framed it as a specific project. Like right now, we can't build custom features for clients very easily. We have to kind of think through like one core feature that like can apply to all customers. And so then we thought through like, okay, ideally we'd love to leverage already have like third party features. Like if we wanted to integrate add event, instead of having a events, we had like an events tab here, and you could put the add event URL in there, and that was the only thing. Anyone could turn it on or off. What we thought we would do is something a little bit more dynamic, almost like an app integration library. You've seen a lot of these. We could have technically like hundreds of apps. So Ad Event would have its own little app or little integration. You could enable it, and then it could have a specific set of URLs or parameters that you could add to it. And so that was kind of the frame of this was like, hey, leverage. We don't have to keep rebuilding this. We can find ways to integrate more deeply on specific tabs. And then one of the outcomes we said is we'd create a set of AI instructions so that when we want to create a new integration, um, we can just fire this instruction up, and it'll kind of put it in the right directory and map things out in the code the way it should be. And we do this currently for reports. So if you are, I need to get into like a real account here, but um, if you jump into like a admin account, we have this reports tab, and so reports is something where like as clients are like, oh, cool, I really want to see X data on like this type of table or whatever. Um, we just had a way where we could basically create these in about 15 minutes, and so we can say, hey, I want a new thing, make a bunch of API calls, set it up in a URL. I want to filter that filters by group, for example. And when I filter by group, then I want to look at the course, and then I want to see like everybody's progress, for that course, and I want to be able to export to a CSV. So all the reports have kind of the similar look and layout, but we can spin them out in like 15, 20 minutes. It's just with ideas. I think we're back. Yes, fun. I'm actually gonna. I'm just moved over to my hotspot on my phone. I don't know what's going on with the internet. We're in the country. We're not that far country. Um, so anyway, just repetitive. We're going to take the same type of report, and we're going to spit it out a bunch of different ways. We created a little AI project requirements, and so we can quickly spin up new ones. So this would be great. You could essentially say, hey, we could use Claude or whatever LLM, and we don't say, you could basically pass these instructions to whatever your preferred LLM is. I'm using Claude Code, and I can say, hey, make me a new integration and use these instructions to like set it up in the right way. And so it just helps get us a head start. Basically, I wanted to be able to create a new group app in an afternoon. And that way we can spin these up super quick. So went down this path. Um, Very simple. We just have these tabs you can, and in the future we'll have a way to like enable, we call them group app or group integration in here. So this kind of, you kind of see how it's working. And then we start to map up the database. So like we have a groups table, and generally we take shortcuts. So like I don't need to map. There's probably like 50 or 30, 20, 30 fields in here. I will just notate it with like a little dot, dot, dot. And then we said, hey, maybe there's a new group integrations table, and we have this all kind of mapped out, and then the integrations are going to link, and here's how this ID connects to that, and this ID is going to connect to group ID. And then we kind of put specific things, like we may have an integration called surprise me, which is like a spin the wheel type integration, which has a description. Maybe there's an API key field or some other things. And then we thought we had like a little JSON config. So we kind of already, this is very in progress. This is maybe 20%, 30% shaped. But I just wanted to show you like our progress or process rather, how we do this. And we've kind of talked about breadboarding, but we notate things with like orange is like a component or a place. White is just a thing. Use it for anything. It could be a column in a table. It could be just a note here. It could be a button on a page. Logic is always defined there, purple. So you'll see things like this, where like, hey, if group categories, then do this. If not group categories, do this other thing. Quickly see that. And then we use the dark gray for like data structure. So that's kind of the process we use. And you can see we're just putting it all here. It's not pretty. And we're taking the time. Like these 2 pages, I think, were probably the result of a 2-hour session roughly. And honestly, we're probably not doing any of it. But we took the time to like map it out and really think closely. And once we like made that little progress, it's very, very much like we're kind of over here and we're like, oh, we definitely need to go over here. And we draw a little circle. And then once we're over there, we actually realize, no, like the real thing is like right here. But we couldn't have gotten to this spot unless we had like sort of taken these different baby steps. And so this is still a really good idea. It is a decent project. We could go and do it, but we think there's like maybe a better way. So we're kind of on version 2 or 3 of the process without having to like jump in and like code together. So you can kind of see these are the results of like um, paying dearly for technical technical debt over the years for Tribe. We're being very intentional with how we through the product itself before we just go into the code. And so that's kind of affected how we do all apps moving forward, how we build our team structure um, and our process. So um, I think that, we may end it there. Has anything, you guys wave at me if you want to add anything to this monster map. Um, and or so we call this like a monster project. We will then like take each of these projects, and each one of these will become its own Notion project. So this actually may link down into its own Notion project, and it may have its own FigJam board as well when we get specific about specific things. But little diagrams like this are very helpful as a team. We're just trying to get on this page. I love Notion. I love all the tasks in here. But what is to get kind of zoom out a little bit, and we've had to learn how to speak to clients, simplify things. And yes, it's helpful for clients, but it's also helpful for a human that is working on a project. Because if it's simple, we can all look at it and be like, cool, this makes sense. Like, we've got this going on here, this is happening here. And we can have big conversations where, hey, if this is not as important, like maybe it goes over here and put this thing, over here. It's very quick to like restructure things and come into agreement of like where the expectations are. And too much of these like big overall projects are just like one massive like checklist of things, and you just never feel like you're done. And we could spend 4 months working on it. We don't really know where we are in the process. So these are each like shippable pieces. Like when we're done in October, we're putting these updates live. Like my goal would be to like push this live so people can like start using it in this format, and then we kind of go to the next thing and ship that, and go to the next thing, ship. And so by the time we look over the course of 4 months, we've made tremendous amount of progress. But that helps give us like sort of by taking it off in like small pieces. So I was jumping here to like, so this like account management piece would have like its own very long things. We had kind of like the current thing mapped out. Then we went to like I don't know, V1. There's option A, then B. I think there's a C somewhere. There was like a D somewhere, and then we finally landed on E as the final option. Um, and you can see kind of the thought process of how deeply we thought this, and we have not started coding this yet. In fact, we had not even confirmed the project fully with the client. This one's a sponsored feature. Um, so, but we had to get into it deep enough to like figure out where everything was going to go. To now, when we say like I think this is a 2-week project or a 3-week project, we're very confident on that because there's not a lot of unknowns. We've kind of made a lot of decisions ahead of time, even down to like very loosely, like we're just going to have like reuse these screens for certain pieces, or we're going to, I think we had something here where we're just going to like add a button. So you can see it's very, very ugly as far as how we dropped things in here. Um, and just kind of hacked screenshots together because it was helpful to just to show generally get on the same page about that. So anyway, that's our little our process. Just wanted to show that. We'll probably take some time to chat as it and sorry for the internet glitches. We'll have to figure out what's going on with that. But that's our process, and yeah, we'll